Hello, hello, hello. I have been away for a while, so I thought it was important to come back today and really start telling you what I've been up to and what's next for my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Crystal Harris. I want to introduce myself again or reintroduce myself. I retired from teaching in higher education in the state of Illinois in June of 2024, so not even 6 months. And I have been on the road taking a sabbatical. I'm not done, but I am back in the United States. I'm back in my home near Atlanta. I spent about 4.5 months abroad. And today I just want to give you a little bit of an update about how that went and what I've been up to since I returned. So I have an online business where I do career coaching primarily for people who are in transition. Historically, it's been academics, but I have some corporate experience and some nonprofit experience. And I would say that I enjoy most working with people who are feeling sort of overwhelmed, stuck, not sure where they want to go next, need clarity, need someone to ask them some pointed questions to help them discern what they need to do and then put an action plan together to actually move forward into whatever they hope to do next. I'm also big on use of assessments. And so if you're looking for a career coach or you know somebody who needs a career coach, I feel that the holidays is a great time to invest in yourself and professional development. So I would strongly encourage you to think about whether or not coaching is something that would benefit you for 2025. I know that 2024 has been an incredibly difficult year for so many people. I would argue that, in fact, I had a colleague tell me recently that 2024 was one of the worst years of her life and career. And honestly, the last couple of months have been particularly disappointing and caused a certain amount of disillusionment with a lot of people, particularly Black women, not just at work, but with the world and with society in general. So I have a couple notes, so I'm going to be looking down. So my theme today on my thumbnail is "We Thrive Together." So my buzzword or phrase or motto for each upcoming year is something that I want to embody how I feel and what are the things that I want to evoke going forward. So this past year, my word was freedom. Last year, my word was restoration. And I don't want to spend too much time going into how those played out, but definitely in looking at the decision to retire, freedom was a great word for me to kind of lead into this year when I was trying to decide which angle to go. And to be very honest with you, I like the idea of having a keyword and a phrase. And what I usually do is I put it in a mobile video so that I can have it on my phone and I can look at it a couple times a year. Not a couple times a year, but a couple times at the beginning of the year. And then usually I have it memorized. I pick a really interesting, energetic song to go with it. Excuse me. So I haven't actually gone that far yet. So I've decided that my word for 2025 is going to be thrive. And I've picked the phrase "we thrive together." And I think that is because I'm in the process of creating an online community. The name of the community is Lead and Liberate. I originally came up with this idea while I was on sabbatical that leaders are people who liberate others. And it came from this Fannie Lou Hamer quote that I used to share with my first year students when I was teaching. And she has this wonderful quote. Fannie Lou Hamer is a civil might say, as a woman in the civil rights movement who was an activist and on the front lines and very vocal. A lot of people don't know her the way you might know some of the other civil rights names. But anyway, the quote that she has that I thought and have thought for a while is really powerful, particularly for students who are kind of at the beginning of their college journey or really at the beginning of any journey where you really have to lean into your core values is when I liberate myself, I liberate others. Let me just double check, make sure that I have that. Yes, when I liberate myself, I liberate others. So the second sentence in that quote that's also really famous is if you don't speak out Ain't nobody going to speak out for you. If you don't speak out, ain't nobody going to speak out for you. So particularly in things where you need to have a bold stance as a leader, I feel like this quote is really empowering because it reminds me that you are really sticking up for yourself and advocating for yourself. But when you advocate for yourself, you're actually liberating yourself and others because you're requiring the system to change. So the name of my online community is called Lead and Liberate. And the reason this paid membership community exists is that I thought that people of color, and particularly Black people, needed a safe space to really kind of hunker down and hone in, creating our own systems to hone in on those skills and opportunities that are going to benefit us. That's not to say that this is not something that I think all communities need. I think they do. But I felt a unique calling while I was away, particularly in the last few weeks of my sabbatical. I spent a couple weeks in a fishing village doing a lot of journaling, a lot of praying, meditating, and walking, listening to the water. And I really felt a strong calling to be one of those leaders and to call out other leaders to become the types of leaders that liberate not just ourselves, but also others. And so hence the backstory to the Lead and Liberate community. So I'll put a link in the description of this where you'll be able to find out more about the community. It's primarily for academic leaders. That could be faculty, professional staff, all of those types of roles. People who are in transition, people who maybe don't see themselves as leaders, but they recognize the benefit in upscaling their leadership skills. I also believe that maybe people who are in a leadership role or have been in a leadership role and have really felt like they're kind of in a space where they're floundering, maybe with the uncertainty of what you're going to do next. Maybe there's a massive change. That we know there's lots of changes going on in higher education all the time, but this next year will probably be an unprecedented level of change for higher education. So if you are responsible for navigating a huge shift in organizational identity, formation, structure, output, any type of systemic change, then this could be a community that benefits you. So I would encourage you to check it out. If you need personal coaching, a leadership coach and a career coach is also a great investment to help you work through one-on-one. What are the systems that need to be analyzed, tools and resources for doing that type of analysis. So leaders are people who have power and influence, who are willing to use that power and influence in order to change situations, spaces, and systems, not just for others, but for themselves. And that is the work of liberation. So I'm going to read that again. It's something I wrote in my journal a few days ago. Leaders are people with power and influence who are willing to use that power and influence to change situations, spaces, and systems for others, not just themselves. So that's kind of like what's been sitting on my spirit around liberation and leadership. And I expect that as one of the things that I want on Instagram and on LinkedIn, I have links where you can connect with me in all the other places online. So I do hope that you had a great, whatever you celebrated yesterday, Indigenous Peoples Day or Thanksgiving Day. I know for me, I've kind of distanced myself in most recent years from the traditional meaning of Thanksgiving. Not that I don't give thanks every day. I consider my gratitude practice, particularly in this season where I've had the blessing of not just different cities in the United Kingdom, then moved on to Spain and went to 5 different cities in Spain. I consider this probably one of the most productive years in terms of me really pouring into and seeing the benefit from things that have really kind of blessed me and helped me to move forward. So that's a little bit about Lead and Liberate. That's a little bit about encouraging to consider coaching. Coaches can't do everything. It's also important to consider hiring a therapist if that is something that you're struggling with, because sometimes being stuck looks like being depressed or anxious or both. I know in the heyday of my feeling overburdened and overwhelmed at work was a season where I was struggling with some mental health issues as well. So I would encourage you to take care of those needs first, and then look at how a coach or a consultant, one-on-one or group coaching experience can benefit you. There's a lot of great self-help, group support, peer support available nowadays because of the internet. However, I do think that sometimes if you need or want to see a result faster and time is not on your side, or perhaps you've already been struggling for a while and you're thinking, I know this was the case for me, I don't know how much longer I can go on like struggling with this by myself. And it just so happened we were at the early states of the pandemic, and it was like virtually impossible to find a therapist. Everybody had to wait. If they were taking patients, they had a waiting list. So I was really fortunate eventually that patients gave way to an appointment, and there was a great match between me and my therapist at the time. And that therapist, to be honest with you, I would credit with helping me see that I really had to be responsible for making my own decision, that like nobody could help me untangle the web that I felt like I was in. Nobody would see the web of complexities that I saw, that I deserved it. I deserved the opportunity. I deserved to take the time to untangle the complexities one by one so that I could then move things out of my way so that I could see clearly, so that I could make a good decision. And to be honest with you, that was really the beginning of my mental health journey, sort of skyrocketing in a positive direction. As I started identifying pieces primarily of my career that I needed to let go of, there was some relationship dysfunction going on too that needed to be worked on. But as I began to free myself from those situations, I then saw room, I saw light at the end of the tunnel, and I was able to make so many more better, bolder decisions. And I did make use of a group coaching program, two of them, in fact, for two different things. So I'm a big believer in investing in yourself and in professional development. I find for me, because I'm not, 25, I'm not 35 anymore. I'm not willing to sit around and see if I can figure it out by myself for a year, 2 years, 5 years. Having already done that in my 20s, I was in a corporate career for 10 years, 7 of which I wanted to get out of the career. So I just sat around and wished that I could get out of the career. And ultimately, I had a couple of losses, major personal losses in my life that allowed me to get out of that stuck place that I was in, to move beyond that situation. So when it came about again that I was having those feelings and I knew that it was related to work, I was ready to see action. And I didn't really know what exactly to do, but I knew that just waiting for it to get better was not going to be helpful. So I guess the other thing, I don't want to talk specifically about my sabbatical in this journey, but I do feel like I need to talk a little bit about it. Just a second. I do want to talk about what was next. So there's a lot of great reasons to take a sabbatical, and I actually got a recorded video that I've been meaning to like edit and get ready. But I want to share with you some of the beautiful images and video that I took while I was there. I needed rest. I was exhausted. I mean, really exhausted. In fact, I was so exhausted that the first month I was on sabbatical, I basically missed it. I was house sitting. I don't even remember where I went first at this point. But what I do remember is that mostly I took care of those animals and I slept. And after I got my bearings and started, feeling energized to like really experience in England, experience London, I sort of recognized my old self coming back bit by bit. So career breaks is another thing that I'm definitely an evangelist and an advocate for. If you feel like you want the world to slow down so that you can step off for a while, you should lean into that. I'm just telling you. I mean, I was telling a friend the other day that I consider my sabbatical something that really just saved my life. I mean, I don't know that I could have, like, in other words, a 2 week vacation. I actually did that summer of 23. I took 3 weeks off and went to Mexico. I was still teaching 2 online classes while I was in Mexico. But so of course it didn't have the effect that it needed to, but I needed rest. So anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge advocate of the Nap Ministry and the book Trisha Hersey's the Rest Deck. I use the Rest Deck regularly myself. In fact, I took 10 Rest Deck cards with me and continued to practice them and read them and share them with others, all while I was traveling abroad. So it wasn't really until I finished house sitting and finished my tour through the United Kingdom and went to Madrid. When I wasn't house sitting, I was just on my own. I did a meditation retreat to detox and also did a yoga wellness retreat that I really started to begin to feel like creative and energy and enthusiasm and having like all these ideas about what I want to do next with my life. And in fact, Lead and Liberate was born while I was walking the beach on a fishing village. I knew the impact that I wanted to have, but I didn't know what form that business or that type of work would take. I knew that I would be doing coaching in some form, but the idea to create an online community that would be to help young and mid-career leaders in transition, because I know that there's a lot of overwhelm, a lot of people who are overburdened, overworking, a lot of people who are struggling with depression and anxiety, a lot of people who just are feeling isolated because they don't have good mentors. If they have any mentors, they have mentors that are hard to access because everybody's busy. So I just realized, and I got all these really creative ideas about things that we could do in the community to make things better. And I basically designed the community that I wished I'd had 10 years ago, when I was transitioning from being a lecturer to a tenure track professor. But I think these activities will be beneficial to people at any stage of their career. They're things that can be helpful, and not only that, but fun and engaging, because we thrive together, which is really, let me just sort of end where I started. To me, 2025 looks like not just building community where people are learning to thrive and sharing their successes in my community here on YouTube, but also in my other social media platforms, but also within the membership community, Lead and Liberate. It looks like having retreats and conferences with people in my community. It looks like publishing more, doing private workshops for private companies or speaking engagements. I also know it looks like a lot more travel and a lot more rest. I will be in the United States until about the end of March, and then I plan to be in Panama. I'm going to be having some medical tourism experiences, which I'm really excited about in Panama in the month of April. I'm going to celebrate my birthday in Panama with some friends. Then I'll be going to Costa Rica. And I'm not really sure where else in Central America I'm going, but I know I want to see Panama City, Panama, and San Jose, Costa Rica. And on the second half of 2025, I plan to be in Ghana. So those are 3 of the 10 places that are on my travel bucket list for 2025. So of course I might not do 10, but I think you start with 10 and you get to as many as you get to. You have some linchpins. And then once you're over there, you try to see as much as you can that is in that region, which is what I'm doing in Central America. So what are you doing for 2025? Like, what is on your bucket list for 2025? I would love it if you would leave me a comment and tell me what's on your bucket list for 2025, whether it's work, whether it's travel, whether it's wellness and health. Another thing that I have to share with you is that doing a wellness retreat at home in the US, in your neighborhood, or abroad is huge. I mean, Spain, different people have different opinions about what Spain is like, particularly as Black travelers. As an older female traveler in Spain, I didn't go through some of the experiences of sexism that some people might experience. I'm not that target, market where people are mistaking me for a prostitute. So I, on the one hand, I'm grateful for that, and I don't discount people who've had those experiences. More of my experiences that were negative were the fact that my journey to learn Spanish, as hard as I worked to be prepared to be in Spain for 3 months. To be honest with you, my Spanish was terrible. My ability to listen and understand what people were saying to me and my ability to formulate the answers and respond in a timely manner was also really slow. And I could see that that was causing pain sometimes in my conversations. But I had a number of people that were so patient, so kind. My hosts in Airbnbs, people at the retreat centers that I went to, people in restaurants that I frequented, like the coffee shop. I'm a huge coffee lover. So the coffee shop that I went to pretty much 3 or 4 times a week, definitely I built relationships with people, and they were so patient, so gracious, so kind, to help me with my pronunciation, with my listening, and with, certain phrases that are maybe like colloquialisms. Um, so I would strongly recommend whatever you hear about how so and so is racist, so don't go there. If you're in the U.S., you live in a racist country, so those people will not deter you. You're going to have a good time doing what you do. I'm down here in Georgia in Trump country. I'm not in Atlanta per se. I'm south of Atlanta in a county. I won't say which county, but this is definitely Trump County. So I don't have to worry about going somewhere else and experiencing racism. It happens right here in the neighborhood. For the most part, I haven't had it happen to me because, I kind of travel in a certain way that I think I carry myself in such a way that if you bring it, I'm gonna give it back. So I haven't had any incidents, but I know what goes on here because I'm from here, even though I was in Chicago for 25 years. So with that, I will see you next week. I am going to be going live once a week. I was not successful in preparing recorded content and editing it. Although I have a video editing course that I need to take so that I can learn how to edit videos faster so that I can produce both recorded content and live content. So in the next almost 4 months that I'm going to be in Atlanta, expect to see me. And thank you so much for listening and watching. And would love for you to leave a comment and tell me what you'd like to know about either my sabbatical, life in Spain, in the UK, house sitting, planning a career break, career questions. It's all fair game. Take care. Bye-bye.